The body versus sorcery itself. I think we all know who wins. What's up, guys? I'm Hunter here, and here we are to do a nice little breakdown / quick review of chapter 253 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as the Decisive Battle in the Uninhabited Demon Infested Shinjuku Part 25. And ladies and gentlemen, we simultaneously have a lot to talk about, but not too much to talk about, all depending on how you interpret this chapter, which is so fun. But since we have a lot to cover in very little time, let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, we got 5 minutes to cover characters, 5 minutes to cover plot, 5 minutes to cover scaling, and 5 minutes to cover the future. Not in that order. Ready? 3, bam, 2, go. Nothing happens. Once again, in terms of macro plot progression, nothing really happens. We are in what is presumably the final battle, or at least the penultimate battle, or one of the penultimate battle. Like, once again, there's not too much series after this, meaning we are currently in plot limbo. As in, we're moving forward, but we're kind of just moving sideways. Because the current plot massive goal is beating Sukuna. That ain't happening. Especially not in this chapter. And likely no time soon. Sukuna is still way too monstrous, way too beastly, way too demonic. He just ain't doing that. But in terms of microplot progression, this chapter actually does offer a lot. Number one, it does confirm that, he's getting stronger again. Like, this is bad. This is very bad. Notably, Sukuna's weak. Heavy, like the heaviest quotation marks I can muster. He's weak right now. But with the hitting of this black flash, he's starting to regain his strength. Of course, remember, it took Gojo Satoru 3 or 4 black flashes to start to re-achieve his actual strength, just get his RCT back up to max and his output back up to max. Yeah, Sukuna's in a way worse state than Gojo was. The man's missing a hand and a heart, the two most important H's a man can muster. So yeah, he's still very much in dire straits, but with the start of this Black Flash, it means his output is going to start rising. His regular output. It's clear he can use chance and hand signs to sort of re-up his output back to its regular states, but he's slowly starting to build back towards his regular state. However, he's not immediately back to full health, not immediately back to full output, nothing like that. While he is super duper optimal with Cursed Energy, he's going to likely require more and more Black Flashes. But of course, by landing the first one, he's now sort of on a roll, if you will. Call him a Karikinji, as now it's time to start gambling. Another major plot progression that comes naturally as a byproduct of the Black Flash. Yeah, Maki's knocked away. I've been hearing mixed things. A lot of people think Maki's like, dearly beloved, we have gathered here today. Like, I don't think so. Like, she was knocked off screen, I'll give you all that. But notably, she's not bisected by the hit. The hit does come from a punch and not a dismantle. And she's just kind of sent off screen and really never tackled for the rest of the chapter. But of course, the rest of the chapter is only 2 pages. Like, I'm not shocked that we don't see Maki in this chapter. She's knocked away. So essentially, Maki versus Sukuna, it's either put on pause or over. That's unfortunate for the Maki fans out there. But hey, once again, it'd be like that when it'd be like that, especially when it'd be like that. Kashimo got 2 chapters. Maki ended up getting 2 chapters. I mean, kind of, once again, like, do you count Kashimo? Yeah, you count Kashima's 2 chapters, 237, 238. Same thing with Maki. She ended up getting 242, 252, and 253. Higuruma got about 3 to 4 chapters, you could argue, because you had the initial build-up to Higuruma, then the switch away, then back to Higuruma, then the trial, then the results of the trial, then the run-on-one to the one-on-one. And then Maki got 2. Yuta got 3. He had the end of 240-something, and then he had the start of it when he opened his domain with Sukuna after running the ones for a little bit. Then he had the third where he got sliced in half. So Yuta's currently leading with 3 chapters against Sukuna, but we have knocked Maki off. So in terms of micro plot progression, that is a big thing. We are down another heavy hitter. Presumably for a while, we don't know. We could open next chapter and she's going to get back up, just pouring out life juice, but still alive. I presume she's still alive. I don't think Maki's cooked, y'all. Please. Don't manifest that negativity. Not in this house. But with it being the case, Maki being knocked off the table is horrible. Because remember, Yuji is still likely recovering with Choso right now, and he clearly cannot do anything to Sukuna on his own, even with Choso's help there. Yuta is still currently in half, and Maki herself in this chapter even notes that bringing him back, or how long it could take to bring him back, may not be all too viable. She sort of needs to end things now in order for things to get done quickly. But hey, Maki, if you want to do that, you should have gone for the head. And 3, Hikari Kinji's still fighting Urume, who apparently hasn't even used their domain expansion yet. They're still just chilling and boxing and having a good time. So all the heavy hitters are kind of down right now, and the ones that aren't down are either buried somewhere in a wall, in the case of Maki, or Yuji Todori currently trying to figure out what the heck is still broken inside of him to attempt to try and heal it. Both of which are in dire straits, leaving us with Kusakabe as the final wall. But of course, as we see in this very chapter, Kusakabe isn't too much of a threat. Like, his whole secret attack plan gets casually read through. He uses an advanced critical hit type blade. Doesn't really do anything. And yeah, now we're going to Kusakabe versus Sukuna in terms of our next plot thing. For everyone who had that on their bingo cards, for those who didn't, you just like me, for real, were in danger. But I presume something's going to happen. I don't think we're actually going to get a whole chapter of Kusakabe versus Sukuna, because I don't think Sukuna would find that interesting, considering what Sukuna goes on about in this chapter. And now, for the first time ever since the fight with Satoru Gojo, he's finally been brought to a state of ecstasy. Genuine interest, genuine desire to fight off. But of course, that's the end of the plot. Let's move on to the characters. I love the character work in this chapter. It's very simple, it's very sweet, it's to the point. This is a very concise chapter in terms of who's in it and what actually happens. It is the Maki, Sukuna, Ino, and Kusakabe chapter. And by Ino chapter, I mean he shows up for like 2 panels only to get got and kicked away and set up for Kusakabe. This is very specifically a chapter about these 4 characters. And while of course Kusakabe's character work is funny in the sense that it deals with his strength and ends up dealing with the fact that he's probably going to have to use such strength against the king of curses of all characters, you know the main 2 points that I'm more than excited to talk about in terms of character writing, and that would be Maki and Sukuna. I'll tackle ultimately, which saddens me to say this, the less interesting of the 2 in Maki. First things first, I do like how Maki's portrayal, at least in how it's drawn, is still very much monster-esque. She's drawn very often with either blacked out imagery and or an eye obscured or hidden. She's very rarely drawn traditionally, like a lot of the other characters who are soaked in light. She's very much steeped in that darkness, and I really like that. And what I do like is that even in the depths of that darkness, Maki still cares. Maki still has goals, Maki still has ideas and wants and desires that pertain to protecting her friends and trying to end this threat before they have to come back and risk their lives again. As she says here, even if we manage to save Yuta, if this fight drags on any longer, it will spell all sorts of trouble. I'll crush him right here, right now. Of course, that was completely misguided because she realized a little bit too late that she did not scale to the King of Curses. But with that being the case, I do like that she still cares. In spite of what everything or everyone was saying about the character, that, oh, she's now just an edgelord. Oh, what happened to Maki? Maki's Zenin senpai. She's so devious, so monstrous. Oh, my toes, they're curling a little bit. Maki senpai, what are you doing? No, she still genuinely cares. She knows the danger that Sukuna's in. Well, not the danger that Sukuna's in, the danger that the world is in because of Sukuna. And that she does desire to end it. She still wants to use her power and her strength in order to support and protect others, which I think is still sweet. At the end of the day, as much as a monster as she's become, as much as she can smile in the face of the King of Curses, she's not him. She still does care about people. She cares about connections. She's worried about the rest of the world, where Ryoben Sukuna is not. And we can leap into the other bit of characterization for this chapter, which I really like. It's Sukuna. I'll just read this whole little section out verbatim because I think it leads into why I like Sukuna so much for this chapter in particular. Kashimon Hajime, Higuruma Hiromi, Okotsu Yuda. Following the death of Satoru Gojo, many that represented the peaks of sorcery stood before Sukuna, bearing their own particular honed fangs. However, they amounted nothing more to appetizers for the beast. Who truly roused his hunger was none other than Zenin Maki, who would abandon Jujutsu sorcery by any means, and by the means of heavenly restriction. This reality brought the King of Curses to ecstasy. I love that Sukuna genuinely tweaks out in response to a phenomena he's never encountered before. I love that. My favorite thing about Kenjaku is that he's a scientist. Experiments on what he does, yes. But Sukuna, while not a scientist, who does experiments, yes, he's still a character genuinely intrigued with the system. And when he faces someone that is an absolute anomaly, as he says himself, and yet that body of yours is all marrow and bones, don't you get it? Your existence denies what it means to be a sorcerer. The outcome of this fight will prove which is worth developing, sorcery or the body. You're the only one who ever forced a roll upon me. Boom! And he smacks her with a black flash. Sukuna generally loses his mind and gets invested and intrigued, not with the other peaks of sorcery, all that fell short to Satoru Gojo, the opposition, the opposite. Instead of being discouraged or left behind or disappointed, he's genuinely intrigued with the opposite of his very existence. Maki, more so than Rika does as the Queen of Curses, stands the direct opposition to sorcery as a whole. And seeing Sukuna get excited, get invested in it, lose his mind so much he's willing to risk his own death. As Maki knows, he stopped his healing. He's not healing anymore. He's pulling a Yuki Tsukumo, all to land that Black Flash, all to get invested. This is great. This is fantastic. It feels like the first time since Satoru Gojo that Sukuna's genuinely invested in the battle. Genuinely going for it. Of course, that leads to Maki immediately getting got. So, L for the Maki fans. But still, I love Sukuna actually getting invested. I love him actually being interested with the system. I love him genuinely being invested in how the world works and attempting to challenge it. Taking this as an insult to his pride and thusly working to immediately rectify that insult by knocking Maki away. Maki fan of me, ow. The Sukuna fan of me, wow. Golly. Fantastic stuff. Let's move on to the scaling. Of course, we're in the same predicament that we're always in. Nothing matters. No one scales a Sukuna. If, notably, this still, and I'll admit this, I'll play both sides here on this one. The one thing that is definitive scaling, it is nice, but of course definitive is very loose. Kusakabe is confirmed to be the strongest grade 1 sorcerer, except for the great big three families, which essentially just means the Zenin clan. Notably at the time when this question was being asked by them, or to them, the Zenin clan was still alive. And, like, Gojo was still unsealed. And, like, in this outfit. Meaning that this is way even before Shibuya. So Kusakabe is the strongest. But that doesn't include characters like Naobito. It doesn't include characters like Naoya. It doesn't include any of the grade 1s from the Zenin clan. Of course, I do think Kusakabe has feats that could arguably put him above those characters anyway. Like, reacting to and doing anything to Sukuna at all in his slashes, and or, you know, the Uzumaki way back in Shibuya before any time skip amps. Those are also really, really good. So I can even see Kusakabe being above those, but once again, it kind of gets weird because of the speed thing, and like how they would interact with Kusakabe, and like how Symbol Domain interacts. But still, that's concrete scaling stuff that the chapter just verbatim gives us. It hands us that for free. It means Kusakabe is stronger than Nanami, stronger than Meimei, stronger than Aototo, stronger than Gakuganji, stronger than Yaga, stronger than any other grade 1 that's not one of the big three families. You can't really have a debate. Kusakabe is the strongest, meaning he could even transcend Bird Strike itself. He'd probably just dodge it. But of course, you know, the main thing on the scale in front that has caused debates, debacles, and all that. Maki versus Sukuna itself. Now, these two do a little dancey dance. Sukuna sends out another slash, Maki just sleeps it. They go clashing here, you literally see them clanking. Presumably, this is Sukuna using his mini infinity cleave dismantle thingamajig, where he's knocking away Maki's soul split katana with the cleaves as the clank sound is being made, not like a flesh sound. He's not just like knocking away soul split. So he's using cleaves here, meaning he does find Maki worth defending against, which is nice enough, but once again doesn't necessarily mean anything. But the main things for scaling is Maki once again reacting to the dismantles. However, like I said before, this may not even really matter because none of these are chance. None of these maybe are hand signs. Of course, Sukuna does very specifically this aim thing, but there's heavy debate on whether or not like Dismantle even has a hand sign, or if this is just him pointing and aiming it. Like, does this count? We don't know. And we even see him use the net of dismantles that he used on Yuji and Yuta earlier against Ino. And, you know, manages to survive it. Like, his hands don't even get cut up slightly, just his clothes do. Meaning that Sukuna's output is in the trash. For the most part, right now. Meaning none of this really matters in the grand scheme of things. So while I would love to give Maki credit for genuinely eating a cleave here, it is still infinitely less impressive than Yuji eating a cleave, because Sukuna, once again, had full extended grip on him, full extended clip on him, and naturally was in much better standing. So Maki scaling it all to Sukuna, no. But, once again, as the chapter itself implies, it just reinforces the narrative that no one really scaled to Sukuna. Whether it be Kashima, whether it be Yuta, whether it be Higuruma, whether it be anybody, no one's really done anything to him. That's like concrete scaling. And of course, the only things that could arguably be used is Maki reacting to dismantles if you think all dismantles are uniform in speed. If you think spatial dismantle, if you think regular dismantles, fatigue dismantles, if you think the output only changes the amount of force that is behind the attacks, all you can really give Maki is that she's very confidently able to react to and block dismantles if they all move at uniform speeds. If you think they have different speeds and can have different levels of output, then that gets a little bit weirder, because like once again she's the only character who's done it, but they could be slower than other dismantles we've seen before because of Sukuna's lower output. Once again, it's very messy, very 50-50. The only thing I can remotely give her like concrete credit for is the fact that she's once again able to toss around Sukuna. Notably, she's the one who saves Kusakabe here from probably getting cleaved himself, when it seems like she just straight up drop kicks bro through a whole building. Well, not through a building, through the walls of a building, and then proceeds to iron back bro straight through another concrete wall and into it, bouncing him off of it, and forcing, well, not necessarily forcing Sukuna. He says he forced a roll. She forced a roll upon him, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's forced to go all out here. I don't think Sukuna goes all out on Maki here, and he does straight up perception blitz her, like wholesale, and possibly damages her, like I think like his pinky may have like scraped her face really, really hard, proving her durability once again is lower than Yuji's most likely and lower than Yuta's. But both of those do make sense. It is unfortunate for Maki. She kind of does end up having the less impressive showing, since a lot of her damage cannot legally be done. Like everything she does and swings for, Sukuna ends up no selling, and whatever tossing around she does very little damage. So Maki arguably has the second worst performance, only inferior to like, I'm out of time, Kashimo. But even then, Kashimo forced Sukuna to block and like engage with them. They both lunged at each other that one time in 238. So there is that. And also Kashimo does draw actual damage from Sukuna, while, unless this is meant to be blood, I think it's just meant to be impact marks, she never even draws blood from him. She only gets that one stab on him, which is unfortunate. But I've already cheated a little bit. Let's talk about the future. Hakari? Like, Yuji and Kusakabe? Like, there's no way. We're on break. Unless this is a false warning, like a red herring or something. We're on break, so we don't know. But we may be getting Kusakabe versus Sukuna next. And notably, maybe the appearance of this Usami person. We don't actually know who this is. Kusakabe just drops the mention of a Usami. No idea who that is. Like, legit no clue. So maybe Usami comes in and cleans up, or maybe Maki gets back up. We're in a very like pseudo precarious spot because Sukuna's locked in to the point where he hit a black flash and everything. He's likely on the roll for black flashes now. He's slowly but surely upping his output. He probably started healing. Actually, no, I'm not sure what this is meant to be, unless this looks like the black sparks leaving his hand. It doesn't look like he may have started healing again, because we don't see any steam start leaking from him anymore. So you may still have healing off, but like, I don't think I need to convince you that Kusakabe is not going to do well against Sukuna if he tries remotely. I also don't think I need to convince you that Yuta's probably not coming back this quickly. I mean, maybe, notably, we do talk about the return of Yuta, and I think it probably is necessary. And I think, ultimately, at best, we're probably going to get a couple panels of Sukuna versus Kusakabe before we, like, have all the heavy hitters appear. Or we may just, once again, I want to say we may just cut away, but it doesn't look like Gege's actually invested in drawing Hakari versus Urume. It doesn't seem like it. We only get glimpses of the battle. And even then, those glimpses are very, very limited. And naturally, by the point of where we were, where Hakari versus Urume was, I don't think it would have randomly ended in the time span of this chapter, which at most takes place over like 2 minutes. So, like, I don't really think we're going to see Hakari show up, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, all three of the other heavy hitters end up converging on Sukuna after Kusakabe stalls for a little bit, because he's the only one left. Notably, Ino gets basically knocked into the Shadow Realm. Like, we just don't see bro after he gets hard drop kicked here. Like, he gets sent out the building, and then he just falls as he's slashed apart. Kusakabe's the only one left, as Maki also got banished straight to the Shadow Realm. But, once again, I don't think Maki's actually, like, gone. I think she just got knocked away. So she could hypothetically come back at a little bit of healing, a little bit of that time, as long as Kusakabe stalls. I can see Itadori getting back into the battle. Choso seemed to recover enough to run all the way here and support Itadori, meaning could be Itadori, Choso, Higuruma, well, not Higuruma. Itadori, Choso, a hypothetical extremely damaged Maki, and Kusakabe versus Sukuna. If I had to take a guess of what's next. Because, once again, I just don't see Kusakabe 1v1ing, nor getting an entire chapter to himself. Apparently, Kusakabe just has more narrative weight than I thought, because, like, we end the chapter here. I was so very confused. When the leaks, I'll be real, when the leaks were coming out, I thought there was going to be another page after this. Even though the narrator itself is like, wait, for real? Because, like, it doesn't feel for real. I don't feel like Gege's saying FRFR right now, but it may just be FRFR right now. We may just be for real, which is haunting, terrifying, horrifying for Kusakabe, but I'm actually genuinely interested to see him cook a little bit. If it ends up doing anything against the KO curses, once again, it'll be in the fugue scaling state where it just doesn't matter. Nothing has mattered. Sukuna has been bored ever since Gojo died. The only person who remotely interested in him wasn't even someone that scaled to him at all, as you can tell by this straight up perception blitz here. It was just someone who imposed a role upon him, and stood in opposition to his very existence as the pinnacle of sorcery, being the pinnacle of the body. Meaning that Maki still has probably bored Sukuna somewhat by the ease of her defeat. And Yuta Okkotsu, our third strongest character in the entire series, still wasn't even considered anything more than an appetizer. Around the same level of Kashimo or Higuruma in terms of entertainment with his honed fangs. And he still insults Yuji this chapter. So, like, I don't know. The future's still very, very uncertain in terms of how we're actually supposed to beat this man. If he's supposed to be beaten anyway. I think every single Megami supporter, you're probably going to end up being right. Because right now, with Sukuna starting to regain his output, starting to get on the roll with Black Flashes, starting to feel that ecstasy, starting to lose his good mind, essentially. And with all the heavy hitters being incapacitated in half or under recovery or fighting a whole nother monster themselves, it looks like we're in deep, deep danger. But of course, that's nothing more than more excitement. And I cannot wait to see what transpires next. However, if you somehow made it, I have 10 seconds. If you somehow made it to the end of this video, please leave King of Ecstasy. That sounds so bad. It sounds like he's like doing that special sauce. Leave the King of Ecstasy in the comment section down below. And if you think it's what you're watching, please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the 30-minute live reaction to this very chapter, along with ad-free variations of all my videos. And if you become a $25 patron or $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Now, I think it's so much for watching. Once again, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members. O'Connor Plays, Greyhound, Atkins Void, Astro, Red Wolf 4765, Eternal Flame, and Teen Mitgao. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons, Steron, Sean, Panda Goat, Midnight Lord 21, Metal Solid Crisis, Kevin, Igneel, and EHAC1. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 member, Autumn Mornings Lazo. And I'd like to give a big thank you to our $10 member, Jay Warrior. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $10 patrons, Joaquin and Idemo Kami. And I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Winter. Along with another juicy thank you to our $25 patron, ChinaDoll09. And I'd like to give a final giga gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.